So I want to go over the AHU that we're going to be using for our shared spaces. We're actually going to be using an outdoor AHU even though it's indoors, and there's a couple reasons for that. But the main reason is that it's fairly easy to change, and it actually gives us a pretty good box size for a system that we would probably utilize in a situation like this. So to get to that, if you'll recall, we need to go to Systems and Mechanical Equipment. I'm not going to give this to you on Canvas. It's actually one of the default systems. If you can't find it on Canvas, I will give you the outdoor AHU system, but you should have the generic families. And if you don't have it, it's the same. It should be the same one as last semester. But if you go ahead and load family here, you can navigate to air handling units by going to the under the English library or the Imperial library. It's under Mechanical, MEP, Airside Components, and then it's under Air Handling Units. And we're going to load in this outdoor AHU. So you go ahead and hit open there, and it will give you quite a few to choose from. You have already probably sized these AHU coils, so that's why it's really nice that we can choose a square of this. So for instance, if you found that your coil was 5 by 5, then that's where 25 square feet of coil would come in, and you would load that one in. If you select this after you've placed it according to the level that it needs to be placed to, we can go ahead and edit the type. You can duplicate it and rename it to something like Residential Tier 1 AHU or something like that. And then you can change all of the dimensions. So I suggest that you change all of your supply and your return air inlets to something like 36 inches, or if you are having chases, it could be 48 inches. But that will allow us to really simplify our diagrams and our elbows and stuff. You can also change the length of the AHU, so if this is really pushing on the walls and you're having a hard time connecting to something like a chase, then just go ahead and change that length to something like 11 feet or 12 feet. I think it defaults to 13 feet on a 25 square foot coil unit. The width and the height you could probably keep the same. It's not going to affect your machine or your mechanical room too much. So there's one thing that we need to change here, and I want to show you how to edit this family, because in Integrative Studio, again, you're probably going to be editing families to change where things connect into. So you can always click a piece of mechanical equipment and edit the family up here under the Modify pane. You can also double click it and it will bring you into this 3D view of the RFA, or the family. And what we need to change is actually the back of this system. So if you see the system as it is, there's a big outlet, and this is the supply. This is the air that's already been cooled. It's gone through this coil here, which is supplied with cold water or hot water or electric heat, or maybe there's a dehumidification cycle in there somewhere as well. And that goes to your corridors or to your podium. But then at the other end, so this is the inlet end, you'll see we have two ducts here. There's one at the top, which by default is actually your return air, and the one on the side here, which is actually your fresh air. So this is a mixing box where air from two sort of ducts is coming in. It's mixing, and then it comes in and it gets cooled. The reason why return air is used is because it's much more energy efficient to bring colder air from the interior of the building and mix it with a little bit of fresh air to meet your air change requirements, rather than just using fresh air, because your delta T might be much higher. So that is actually sort of the real way that you would probably utilize one of these machines. We're not going to use this top duct necessarily though, so we're going to mix directly in the ducts. So you can still use this system. The only thing we need to change is this back duct. So you can see that the system classification is supply air. We're actually going to change this to return air, and then we're going to load it into the project and overwrite the existing version. So if it is connected to any systems, you can go ahead and disconnect. If you've already gone through all this process with another AHU and you've got your ducts all set up, you probably can avoid this, but this is just a refresher for loading in AHUs and changing families. So what you'll see now is that when I click this, these are both return and this is a supply. So if I create a duct here and I create a duct here, you can see that they match the return color and the supply color. And what this will help us to do is create two chases here. Normally this would be where the supply sort of pumps into, but it's a little bit harder to deal with chases. So I think this is just going to be a better situation for everybody, where we have return at the back and supply at the front. You can always rotate this to get it into place, and we can just avoid using that top one for right now. So I'll have another video on the smaller AHUs for the individual residential units, and then there's going to be a couple more videos on how to connect this to your ducts up here, because I know that is frustrating for a lot of people, that sort of trial and error process. And then I'll show you in that video as well how this can be a chase rather than just a single unit that gets connected into the system.